Good morning and welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show, kicking off your mornings with Wargaming Chat. It's Onod here and I'm joined by Mayor and OT.
Hello, it's me.
And goodbye. No, hello.
And we are looking today at some lists from Days of Future Past. That's the X-Men film.
It is.
But we're looking at lists which were meta-breaking. Citation needed. We're going to then be comparing them and seeing which one would have been the best if they hadn't been nerfed and had all existed in the same meta at the same time.
Yeah.
Yay.
I've arranged these alphabetically rather than chronologically because I couldn't be bothered to go back through the fucking FAQ and work out when they all came out. So just deal with them alphabetically, and if it makes you angry, that's not my problem.
I'm angry.
Okay, I just said it wasn't my problem. So first up we got Angmar. Now the main nerf for this was actually multiple nerfs to the shade. I think initially it was shifted from all enemy models to all models that don't have the Angmar keyword. And then it was then subsequently re-nerfed to go from a passive rule to an active rule, which I think is actually maybe a bigger deal than it sounds, because it means, like, I don't know, if you're knocked down or if you're transfixed, you're not able to use it. Also, another sort of less obvious nerf to Angmar was the flying creatures nerf in 2023 that just made them easier to shoot. And again, because Gullivar's kind of vulnerable and depends on his remaining wounds, that did make him significantly worse.
Yeah, quite a hefty nerf to Gullivar.
Mm.
I don't really know if it was targeted specifically at him, though.
No, I feel like maybe there was just a little bit of, what's it called? Like, it wasn't super clear around flying creatures maybe, and they just wanted to tighten up a bit, and as a result they decided to make flying creatures weaker rather than stronger. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be interesting now. I feel like the shade is now, it maybe not unusable, but I feel like it's super niche. And I feel
I think pure Angmar it's fine, isn't it? It's just you can't ally it into another force, which was the problem.
More oppressive, yeah. I feel like they could change it back to being a passive rule, and it might be okay. Like, I don't think that would be too game breaking, but then obviously I don't think there's much point in like reversing it, so I can see why it is what it is. I don't think this is like I think if it was kind of in the position it was, I'm trying to think what I mean, obviously Goblin Tan, the shade unnerfed would be super good with. What else would it work well with?
Dragon Emperor.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's a given, isn't it? Like,
that was a meta we never got to see, sad face.
Yeah.
It was mainly goblins and Goblin Town, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mainly
cheap spam where you could beat people because they got -1.
Yeah. I think, like, well, obviously, I think we'll come back to the proper rankings later, but I feel like this one won't be super high necessarily. Like, I don't think it would have been ridiculously oppressive, maybe compared to some of the other ones, which maybe were more of a feels bad, but I could actually see why this would be more frustrating than anything else, I think, because like having your sixes taken away from you or whatever would just be like not a nice experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Christ, crucifix. Okay.
It's worth it just to make it worse for you.
Yeah, I know.
Right, let's have a look at Assault on Helms Deep.
Mayor, let's go to you. How does this
Mayor.
Well, having played this quite a lot, mainly without the nerf. Without the nerf, it was definitely a little bit obnoxious. It wasn't very fun to play against. It was brilliant to play with.
Yeah, having a great
time. How many times have you played this list since it was nerfed? Sorry, Mayor.
Once, I think. It was. I can't remember who I played. It was fine. I actually think it's. I don't think it was broken before. I think it just made it even more obnoxious than it needed to be. The kind of debuff where you're now just re-rolling ones instead of re-rolling any dice, both on the to hit roll and scatter, is still fine. It's nowhere near as good, nowhere near. But it does make you feel better about playing it and not feeling too much like the bad guy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a very balanced list now. I think it's just very balanced and themey.
I think part of the problem with it now being very balanced is in the world of like quite high powered MESBG now, it just doesn't. I mean, it wasn't everywhere necessarily, but you was just, I think, lots.
It was consistently, it would appear in like, top fives quite often.
And like
winning quite a few events.
You were seeing quite a few Isengard, like Assault and Help Deep mirror matches, which I can't imagine were a whole lot of fun. Like you're just hoping to high roll ballistas, I guess. But I guess there was also the nerf where it had a minimum range, which I think is quite interesting, like just as a concept. I can't imagine that comes into effect super often. Maybe it does.
I think it did make a fair difference in that before, even up until the point your opponent is actually touching the ballista, you could still shoot them. And let's say you've got your line of dudes around 6 inches away from the ballista, your opponent engages them, they're getting closer to your ballista, you can still just keep shooting them. Same with, for example, if you had a big monster, so one of the bat reps where I play Sebastian, he's using the Cave Drake with his Moria, and I've got this on one of the table edges, and the only safe place for his Drake, was it a Drake or was it a Troll? I can't remember. It was one of those. The only safe place was within 6 inches of my ballista. The only safe place on the table. So that's where it went. And as soon as it got within range, I had nothing to defeat it at that point. So I think it does balance it. You need more than one ballista if you're going to play it competitively now, definitely.
Yeah. Fair.
I guess the one thing you can say about this is that at least it wasn't good at every scenario. Like some of the lists we're going to look at are just like objectively good in all areas. But like a Maelstrom mission could really, really fuck Assault and Helms Deep in certain situations.
Yeah, I think so as well. You can get ganged up on very quickly, but it does have the advantage that if you build a list like I like to do, where you've got 1 or 2 ballistas and then 1 bomb, the bomb it's just so juicy sometimes, especially on Maelstrom. If you come on second, because you can just blow it up straight away, and that's a deterrent for your opponent coming near the ballista as well. So I think it's a really good all-round balanced list.
I do remember when the nerfs came out, I was a little bit surprised bombs didn't get hit, but then I wonder if they just feel like less oppressive than the ballistas do. Like maybe it feels like a more interactive process, right? Whereas like I think the problem I always had with the ballistas was like a big part of what makes the ballistas strong is they kind of stop you interacting with like the bits of the army you would hope to interact with, and it did just feel a bit bad, like having 2 ballistas kind of pinning you down behind cover, basically, which, didn't feel great. So
I guess with the bombs, you can kind of measure it out and ensure that it can't hit you, whilst the ballista, it's like, unless there's a bit of terrain which physically blocks, they're going to hit you. They're just too long a range. 48 inches on a 4-foot board. It's basically the whole board, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are ways around the bomb. You can shoot it out, you can stay away from it, you can just use magic to pull the berserker around, you can disarm it yourself quite easily. You're not having to chew through a whole army to get to it like you are the ballistas. And I don't think often, like, you'll be doing well if you can get a positive trade with it. Isengard's a fairly expensive army, and unless you're playing against lots of other expensive armies, or you somehow catch an enemy hero, even if you catch an enemy hero, you're paying 80 points for 3 models and a bomb. You're almost guaranteed to lose at least 3 models from the exchange. So unless you're killing a fairly expensive hero, and you're not even guaranteed to kill an expensive hero, so it is a big risk. It's more of you're paying for a deterrent more than anything else.
That makes sense. Cool. Okay, the other assault then, Assault on Lothlorien. Obviously this one was
still really good.
Yeah, I was about to say it's super powerful. I've never had the misfortune of facing this list. Just to run over what was done to it. So Musga has to be your leader now. and they added the following bullet point: Legendary Legion has to basically it has to include as many orcs as goblins, and you can't have more goblins than orcs. So I guess the power spike of Lothlorien was what you just spammed goblins with the shooting, because of the
Well, it was
Monsters as well.
maxing bow limit, so the goblins
Yeah.
enabled you to more effectively do that. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you take a cheap orc, it's not necessarily so expensive that it doesn't work. Still, it's just not quite as effective.
Yeah,
I think people figured out that actually it's better if you run it that way somehow. As soon as it happened, I'm sure I saw somewhere someone had done really well in a tournament with it, like straight away with this change.
Oh yeah,
and they've done
it's
absolutely fine.
still playable for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I think it's more just gone out of favor rather than anything, hasn't it? It's just sort of not the current thing that people are really into. I imagine at some point someone will start sort of using it as like an anti-meta again, and it will come back into the thick of things, though.
As these things tend to do. I mean, it's clearly just a very powerful list, and if you spend time getting good with it, like it does just seem to perform very consistently well. So yeah, I can see why it needed toning down a bit. I think also just it seemed like a lot of people were just having a very negative experience playing against it for some reason. I'm not personally super clear why that is, because I've never faced off against it, but it did seem like a lot of people were really hating matching up against it.
I think it's just because it kind of, you can't shoot at it, but it can shoot you. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, isn't it?
Yeah,
very kitey as well.
I think list switch stop you doing fun stuff, always just less fun to play against, right? Because
I think that there may be a theme in nerfs here, to be fair. Looking at the other ones later on, like it is the ones that kind of shut down the plays you want to make that do tend to get the nerf hammer. Cool. One we've had a lot more experience against because we were there in the heyday of bay awnings.
yeah.
So yeah, that was a weird time. So the top one, not as relevant, actually more of a buff than a nerf. But basically, I don't think it was super explicit that Bayorn can benefit from the reactions of Grim Bayorn. However, the second one is the real game changer. So basically, they have the bear save. So previously on a 5+, you would save a wound when it was inflicted. It then got changed to a natural 6, so you couldn't even spend might on it, which I think bit of a game changer. And I don't know if it's necessarily like killed the list dead, but I think it made it significantly less competitively viable.
Yeah, which I think is good. We saw a lot of it. We don't really see it at all now, or at least I've not seen it very much.
Kind of died.
I think it's still popular in doubles because I think the ability for both players to take one of these and a load of Bjornings in the double scenarios is very, very strong still. But I think just not having a 5+, it's just slightly less obnoxious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you actually stand a bit of a chance of dealing some wounds, maybe getting through it all. But
it wasn't just the 5+ save, it was the fate that came behind it as well. And like it really did, because with monsters, and this is again an overgeneralization, but in general you're looking for that big turn where you surround them and then you trap them and deal all the wounds. But it would sometimes be the case that with Bayornings, if they were rolling hot, that wasn't even enough. Like you'd need to sometimes get them like multiple times with your heroes and dudes with two-handed weapons to actually stand a chance of bringing them down.
Yeah, and then having the fucking Bayornings, which I think are a little bit too cheap at 25 points. It's just a pain in the ass, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're very low defense though. That's their only weakness really. But you have to range to deal with that in the first place. So
I just feel like when you compare them to like the Dunedain, it's just there's not
25 points. Yeah, it's a bit mental.
Yeah, they need to be somewhere in between 25 and 30 points. But I get that if
lower fight, like knock them down to fight 4.
Yeah,
also, they're 20 points, not 25.
They're 20.
They're 20.
Right, they should be 25. They're 5 points cheaper than a fucking Dunedain, and the only thing that the Dunedain has that's better is a might point. Oh, fuck off.
I mean, might is good. Might's valued at 5 points.
Yeah, but the Beorning has Burly, an extra fight point, an extra
I'm not.
wounds, more
Yeah,
courage, resistant
yeah.
to magic, which is just better than having a will point.
The banner.
Like the banner effect.
Yeah. And they get resistant to magic in the Legion.
Ree!
Jeez. Yeah, Onod's not a fan. You may be able to tell. Yeah, I don't know. Like, personally, I think aside from the doubles event that me and Onod went to, I never had that many issues with Bay awnings, but like, I think there were just certain points levels, like that doubles event where it was 2 400s, where they did just.
Yeah, it's like the perfect points
It
level
was
for
like,
them.
it was Bear and 10 Bay awnings with each of them, and it was just like, good lord, this is.
And there was like 5 people who did that. 5
Yeah,
different pairs. It was fucking noxious.
Okay.
He's not salty at all.
No,
not at all.
Let's talk about the Dragon Emperor.
Yay!
Let's.
So,
no one's ever spoken about him before.
So, for the rest
You
of
were right, OT.
I thank you. I did know I was right.
I think that he's actually too expensive. I think 150 would have been fairer.
Anyway, so essentially, all they did for this, they didn't change any of his rules. They just made him 30 points more expensive, and I still think he's really good. Like, I don't think it'll actually have that much impact on the way the list is run. If I'm being completely honest, like, I still very powerful, serves the same role. You just have three or four fewer Eastling warriors to go with him.
Yeah, and you're still going to get the same argument of all the people who are really, really good at the game go, "Oh, his points are fine because they know how to counter him," and then everyone else is like, "I don't know how the fuck to beat this guy."
It's just
you ignore him. That's how you beat him.
Yeah, that is how you beat him. But the problem is his banner range and his battle wide fucking stand fast are quite difficult to ignore. So
yeah. And he's surrounded by a fucking fight 5 pike block that will effectively be getting 2 attacks with rerolls, which is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it's fine, and I think it'll make the list less strong, which is a good thing. But I don't think it will kill the list by any stretch of the imagination. I think it'll still be absolutely fine. So don't worry, everybody who paid 100 quid for the Dragon Emperor, you made a good investment.
thank God.
Yeah, feel bad for them. Let's talk about Lake Town, because this is one of the more complicated ones. So basically, what the text on the right-hand side does is, I think it means you can now basically only take him in historical alliances with the Master. You could still technically do Lake Town with Bard as a convenient if you wanted to, but yeah. And then there was also just a little bit of a change on Alfred, which meant you could only take him with the Master or with Bard, because I guess you could just drop him into a survivors list, right, and just give Thranduil some cheap might.
Yeah, or just Bard some cheap might.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, I don't know, like, it makes him, it narrows the options, right, but like, I don't think it changes the power level that much.
I think it just ensures that if you are going to run this alliance, you have to do it in a way that is more fair. Like, the Master must be your leader, sort of thing.
Yeah, that, like, I think that's actually more, because so many of the scenarios, and I can't remember off the top of my head how many it is, but I'm going to say more than half have leader VPs, and like, looking after the Master is a bit of a liability, because as soon as like you can break through and get to him, or even if you're hitting him with magic, like, he will just go down pretty quick.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they still work. It's just you're more limited in how you can play them now.
Yeah.
But I think people still play them with like Thorin's Company and Thranduil, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the tournament we went to, there was a guy running exactly that, and it was pretty good. Like, I think Lake Town is a very good like counterpoint to these more elite armies, and gives them, like, you need model count, right? Like, if you're going to be consistent in any kind of like longer event, you need some level of model count to go and tag those objectives and stuff. I think Lake Town serves that purpose really well.
It is annoying how like one of the worst like things ever somehow has the best rules in the game.
Yeah.
That's a real
I mean, is what it is. Like, I mean, they're more focused on balance, right, than theme. Like, I think
They could have given Bill the Pony his rules.
Yeah,
He's
I mean
inspirational.
that would be incredibly overpowered, but maybe that's what Bill should be. Should we talk about Rise of Theoden?
Let's.
Mare, have you run Rise of Theoden, or did you run Rohan without the Legendary Legion? I can't remember.
It was the Legendary Legion, but I didn't have the banner.
Okay. What were your thoughts?
Well, I did play against this a couple times at its height. It was really annoying, but Rohan was never really good before that, in my opinion. So I wasn't really bothered by that. I was just like, yeah, that's cool. Like all mounted Rohan, that's how it should be played. It's not how I saw it played competitively before that. There was no reason to do it before that, really. And now, and then it was just really cool. And obviously, everyone got their hands on it. It became slightly obnoxious. I think it is super powerful. I think the nerf was a good nerf. A very small tweak has just made it. I mean, what I can't even remember what it was before this.
So I think
it just used to be that literally every hero could add one.
It was every hero, yeah, no.
So you would spam all their might, and then you would be able to give them all the might points. So you just brought all hero, and you just called heroic combat, and you just mowed down their entire army in like 3 turns.
Yeah, no, that's a bit much. I think it's much more balanced the way it is now. I'm not too bothered. I think it's still a really good. I mean, it's not an auto includes unless you are quite high points, in my opinion. Now, he's sort of 3rd or 4th on the list for me. But I think that's fine. Like, I wouldn't necessarily expect Gamling to be one of the first choices. So yeah, I think it's much more balanced. I still enjoy playing it. I mean, I never got to play it when it was broken, so
don't know what you've lost. I mean, like, it sounds like a positive thing, right? Because like I feel like the banner isn't something you should be cramming in irrespective of the points level. It's something that should be in those like more hero focused higher points lists. If it's good all the way down at like the kind of points levels you're talking about, like that sounds like a bit of a problem. So sounds like the nerf was probably the right way to go about it.
Yes, I would say so.
Right. Should we talk about the big one, the old Vanquishers?
This is the best one.
I mean, it depends what you mean by best, doesn't it? Like,
as in, it was the funniest one to watch come out because it had so many rules and people were just like raging about it.
Yeah,
I think it was the quickest one to be nerfed as well, wasn't it? They basically brought out an FAQ just to nerf it.
Yeah.
Explain what the differences were.
So essentially, before I can't remember which ones you had to take before because I don't have the book, but it basically they made requirements on the heroes you had to take. So you had to take Gandalf. I don't think you had to take anybody before, but I will check here and I'll put in a bit of text. But,
you had to take Saruman, I believe.
Okay. So, but yeah, basically, because in the Vanquishers, it sounds like Radagast is one of your best options, and then also Elrond's really good, and like Gandalf sounds like a bit of a liability. So basically, it made it so you had to take Gandalf, which made it a little bit weaker. I think Galadriel's fine. I think she's a little bit weird, but I think she's probably fairly usable.
I think she's really good.
I think she takes probably a bit of skill to get right. Like, I imagine timing her like supernova turn, for want of a better word, is probably something that takes a bit of judgment. But yeah, I think she is pretty powerful. That what is it? The banishment, isn't it? That you can just target to any model is pretty crazy. The second bit though is the one that I think made it a lot less toxic. So basically, before you could cast any magical powers you wanted to while they were in combat, and then this limited the ones to notably the ones that don't knock people down or push people back. And I think that probably makes it a little bit less toxic to deal with.
Yeah, because what was happening is you took Elrond, Radagast, and they just used to spam the Wrath of Brunnen and whatever the one Radagast has, knock people over, knock them off their horses, and then you just replenish their will using the other casters, and you just do that for the entire game, and they'd never hit you. And if anyone made it into Saruman that you didn't want to be into Saruman, you just sorcerer's blasted them away.
Yeah. It's very good. It's a very, very good list. I mean, I played, is it Ed Ball at Worcester, and he was using them. I had Goblin Town, and it was, what's the center control one? Something about a hill. Something ground.
Stand on the hill mission.
Hold ground. It's hold ground.
Hold ground.
We played hold ground, and I was feeling very confident because all I needed to do was run into the middle, let myself die. The game will end, and I'll have more models on there.
Easy.
He'd only taken 1 wound the whole game. He had everyone left. I was just very fortunate that the game ended the first possible turn that it could have. And I mean, I was just getting wrecked. They were just untouchable. Maybe it's because I only had goblins, basically, and he just transfixed the Goblin King every turn while he was like 12 inches away. No, they're really good.
Yeah. And like, I think maybe the nerf has made them like less toxic to play against, but I think like in the right hands, perhaps similar to like Black Riders or something, they still definitely have like a place and they're still good.
I think though they went from being able to win every mission to now having the same problem that all hero armies normally do, which is they just struggle on some missions.
Also, they should definitely have that weakness, right? Like that should be a big part of playing a all hero.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but there is something fun to just like run a load of guys in and just do hero
like
things.
Said, it's like I feel like it's a bit like the Shire. Like they shouldn't be good at like holding an entire battlefield. So I think the changes were good. I think they're still really cool and they work really well, and they can be competitive. This just makes them, like you said, more themey, less toxic.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Right. Well, now we need to get to the spicy point in the video. This is where we try and put them into order. So I'll just keep a record as we go of like which one or like which one we're trying to put where. So should we try and start at the bottom, or should we just go list by list? Probably try and start at the bottom. Like, which of these do we think is the weakest pre-nerf?
Pre-nerf, which is the weakest?
We do have time to think, by the way. I can cut bits out.
Okay. I mean, Angmar basically just relies on, I think probably Angmar. Like if I had to play
which
one
of these would
lists,
which used to be least bothered to face? Maybe that's
I'm not really scared about Angmar. I personally am not that scared to get on Assault on Lothlorien.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 4 times I faced it, I've only lost once, and that was when I was doing a Themey Thorin's Company list. So
okay, so I'll keep track if you guys want to talk. Like, I'm happy to keep typing. So we've got, to be honest, it sounds like, should we say 8th for Angmar for Mayor? And then it sounds like you're not that worried about Assault on Lothlorien, so should we put that 7th?
Yeah, I'm happy to type in the rest of mine.
Cool. Should we all do our like 7th and 8th, and then we can work our way up like the points levels, I guess. Sorry, the power levels. So I don't know. I feel like I never really minded Beornings that much. Maybe that's crazy to say.
No, I also have never lost against them.
Yeah, but you're good at the game, so that's an unfair advantage.
What a nerd!
I'm going to put Angmar 8th because I feel like I wouldn't be that scared of facing them, even if they were unnerfed. Although I think that's the problem, though. It's not really Angmar, is it? It's the shade in other lists that we're talking about. So maybe that's different. Because, like, I think a shade in like Goblin Town or something would be much more intimidating. So I'm gonna leave that one. Actually, I'll put that one slightly higher. I'm going to put Beornings 8th. And then I really fucking hate the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, the Dragon Emperor's going first for me. Because
wow.
Just fucking hate it.
I just don't. Again, actually, I don't think. Oh no, that's a lie. I've lost against Dragon Emperor once out of 3 games that I can remember. Sebastian and I won a Salt and Helms Deep against it. Just shot the Dragon Emperor down. I lost against it using Goblin Town on a killing mission. Surprise, surprise. And I beat it using Salt and Helms Deep at the Birmingham tournament that we went to OT. In the last game, I played against it, and I just ignored it. I just pretended it was a giant banner, and that's all it did. The game basically.
Okay, getting back on track. I'm going to put Beornings 8th because I never really mind facing them that much. I'm going to put Lake Town Alliance 7th because I feel like it still has some good green alliances, and I don't think it's super scary. Like, I think it's just kind of fine. Like, it's not obnoxious. I feel like the Rise of Theoden, the Gamling thing, maybe was. I'm trying to think how impactful it is and like how much effect it had on the list.
I mean, it basically meant you wouldn't take an all-hero bubble anymore, which I think is good. So it impacted the way you built the list, but I'm not. I think it did impact its competitiveness a little bit, but not catastrophically.
Okay. Just, I think I'm getting confused. I think between like how impactful the nerf was and how good the list is. Right? Like, I think for some
we're
of them,
ranking on how good they are, right? Like,
yeah. But I think like in my head, I'm like, oh, this was a huge nerf. It must have had a huge impact. But actually, like, you know, they've added 30 points to Dragon Emperor, and he's still really, really good. Like, that isn't.
I'm still terrified to face
it. Yeah. Okay. Like, I think just from how much it could shut down some lists so quickly, it felt pretty bad. So I'm going to put that one first for me.
Wow, fair. I mean,
I think I put
for me.
Salt and Lothlorien. Yeah, I feel like to be fair, our rankings are pretty similar. Yeah, I'll put the Dragon Emperor second, just because I still think it's really powerful, and the fact that it used to be. I mean, didn't it? It won the GT, didn't it, or whatever it's called, in Nottingham, because wasn't it Rides of Theoden and Dragon Emperor that the guy took or something, and they'd been nerfed and they still won. I feel like I'm going to put Riders of Theoden. I can't believe I'm putting Vanquishers this low. I'm going to put Vanquishers third, and then
I don't think they're scary. It's just
annoying
because, like, you know how to beat them. You just ignore them and try and run away.
Yeah.
I think you guys are really like over estimating Riders of Theoden. Like, I think Riders of Theoden were very good in a very old meta, but I don't think that they would be quite as obnoxious with all the lists now. Like, you just knock them off their horses because there's so much shooting nowadays, and also fight 5 and above is so prevalent. All of those heroes are going to really struggle.
That is true.
You can get a lot of goblins on a horse base. That's what I've discovered.
Well, yeah, so exactly, they're not that good.
No, I know. I'm not. Yeah, I don't think
maybe they slide down. Maybe it goes down to like 6.
Yeah, I just want it on the records that both of these two had them in their top 4, and although you won't see these edits happening,
I'm
not even going to hear you.
On the record,
I'm screen capping live. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. So, based on these rankings, I feel like Beornings is going to be at the bottom. I think that's probably the one we'd be least scared to face, and then I can't really work out.
I'd put Rides at the bottom.
Yeah, but as in like I'm trying to work out our averages.
Oh
So
right.
I like produced like an overall. I feel like Beornings would be at the bottom, and then I feel like Riders would be next, and then it's pretty close with like Assault and Lothlorien, Angmar. But like near the top, it's pretty conclusive. It looks like Dragon Emperor would probably be top, and then Assault and Helms Deep would be next, with Vanquishers coming in pretty close behind.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because some of these lists I don't think I'd be afraid to face. It's just I know that I'd struggle to beat them. Like Lake Town. I'm not going like, oh no, it's Lake Town. I'm just going like, okay, I'm probably gonna lose, but you know, whatever. Well, some of them you'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, like really. And I guess it's just the difference between like a fun list and like what's going to be like a difficult game, but at least you do stuff versus what's going to be like, oh really, you're just going to win because your rules are just
better,
too well costed and better than mine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it almost makes me want to like take examples of these lists, right, and just run them all against each other, and see what happens. Like, I think
there's a tournament idea. No FAQ.
Just vibes.
bring as much fucking shit as you want, guys. Here we go.
Yeah. Or you can bring whichever version of the FAQ you want to.
Oh my god.
you can run whatever FAQ you want versus whatever FAQ they want.
Wow. Yeah. I'm trying to think what would be like the most toxic matchup in one of these. Like, what would be the least fun? I feel maybe, to be honest, maybe Assault on Helm's Deep Mirror would probably be one that would be least fun to play.
Yeah.
Surely it would be like Assault on Helm's Deep versus Vanquishers. Would just be fucking miserable. Just blinding light.
It'll be miserable for the Assault on Helm's Deep player.
Watch them slowly run across the board, only for you to then blow up a bomb.
Yeah, it's true. They just Sorcerer's Blast the Berserker, wouldn't they? I think Assault on Helm's Deep versus Assault on Lothlorien is pretty miserable, having actually played that matchup.
What, because you're only hitting on sixes?
That and just like the slow pace of the skirmishing and the fact that models dying actually means nothing because they're all so cheap.
Yeah. It's true.
Dragon Emperor versus anything is a horrible matchup.
I feel like Prime Angmar would have actually dealt with Dragon Emperor. Okay, I feel like Angmar now actually probably deals with Dragon Emperor fairly well, actually, because the shade still works with current Angmar, right?
Yeah. So it's anything with the Angmar keyword. So yeah.
So if you just bring enough orcs with spears, then eventually you probably will actually chop through enough of the regular Easterlings.
Yeah, attrition them down. I mean, like that's the thing, right? Like with the Dragon Emperor, you're paying for that premium in fight, but like Angmar don't really care about that because they're orcs to fight through anyway, right? Like that's not what you're running the list to do. So I feel like that's one of the things that does better. Whereas like I don't know. I think actually like Rise of Ithilien probably struggles quite a lot against Dragon Emperor just because like there's so much fight, like you said. Like like the fact your heroes might have to strike to beat like normal warriors is pretty obnoxious.
Yeah,
Dead Marsh Spectres are probably quite good at fucking the phalanx as well, actually.
Yeah, that's what they're famous for.
Yeah,
cool. I don't really know how we conclude this, to be honest. I don't really know if there's a neat ending to this.
Tell us what you think in the comments, you big nerds.
Right. Okay. Are you sure? Or you don't want to edit?
We could come up with new nerfs.
Oh gosh, I don't think we've got.
Let's not do that. Please see our Legendary Legion series for when we discussed how things should be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to work out which bits I'm going to cut and which bits I can leave in.
No, I think seriously though, like let's see what people think. Do they agree?
Yeah.
What do you think was the most obnoxious of these? Do people think controversially that the most obnoxious list is still out there? Goblin Town.
Goblin Town is a gem of an army, and I'll have no such slander.
Should they be nerfed? I mean, we haven't discussed Witch King Soladin, which people don't like.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
just,
feel like that's
I
hard
think
to
it's
nerf,
fine.
though, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
that.
fine.
I don't think that's innately oppressive. I think that's just
I agree, but a lot of people wanted it nerfed. I'm just saying what
Well,
the people want.
A lot of people are wrong.
Who are these people? I don't know. People on the fucking
Name one.
GBHL Facebook group. I don't
Name
know
one.
them. Just
Well.
see their salty comments.
I'll screenshot a comment here, and I won't blur out the name.
Please get every single person. Name and shame.
That'll
Had it then.
Yep. Well, I don't know what this is gonna. To be honest, I'm increasingly unsure how this is all gonna edit together, but I'm sure something will come of it.
There's a video in there somewhere.
Yeah, there is definitely some content. Yeah, well, like and subscribe. I don't know why you would, but that's your prerogative, not mine. I've been joined by Mayor.
Hello. And goodbye.
And Onod.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Like and subscribe. Peace.
Hello?
I have just one question for you. Are you ready?
Am I ready for what? Who's this?
Are you ready for this Sunday night when WWE Champ John
That's me.
Oh, what are we doing? Oh, I feel like this is going to be super cursed. Right.
Super slam.
Right.
Super slam.
Hello and goodbye to the opponent.
Hello. 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 And goodbye. Where were you? Where were you when you found out that was fake? Sad times.
Yeah.
Was it fake?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a radio. It's for a radio thing.
Oh,
we got a fucking live. Just as I say, where were you? We got a fucking live.
I can't be the only one.
Where was Mayor when he found out that was fake?
Right here on the Hobby Breakfast Show.
Include this clip. Hobby Breakfast Show ruining dreams since 2023.
I might have
2024.
Clip in for content. Yeah, 2024. We're well into 2024 as well. Like
I said since 2023, although that is wrong because we started 2022 as well.
We also haven't confirmed that we've ruined anyone's dreams.
We ruined yours. I want you to be clear. I want you to be clear why I was wrong. I want you to be right about the reason I was wrong. Okay.
Oh,
I'm confused.
Good.
I think that's the point.
See, it doesn't take much to confuse me.
Hello.
Hello.
And goodbye.
Fuck's sake.
Got him. Right, are we ready?
Because it's also hard
Already
because Onod's audio cuts out so much that it might just be hello.
Do you want me to put it on push to talk? I can put it on push to talk instead.
No, you're fine at the moment.
No, I'm going to put it on push to talk. Fuck you.
Well, okay,
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do, you dick.
Oh, why do you have more energy now than you normally do when we record in the morning? Are you drunk?
Always.
Okay.
When do we record in the morning?
It's true. Actually, to be honest,
we always record in the morning.
Yeah, for the breakfast.
Wink, wink.
It's in our name. Okay.
Oh, I see. Yes. But we never release a video in the morning.
Okay.
So it's never the morning.
Give me strength.
It's always the morning somewhere in the world.
Just not. I suppose, yeah. Technically, we do release it in the morning.
Just put myself on mute.
We're also recording it at all time every day.